How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Calcifer Gaming, and today's video, what I'm going to be going over is kind of like a wish list for things I want to see in Playground Games' new Fable game. Now, I'm a hardcore old Fable fan. It was one of the first video games I ever got on a computer, and Fable has been a game series I've had. I remember like being excited with my friends in high school whenever Fable 3 launched. And one thing I can't help but remember about Fable is every single Fable was actually a lot of fun, and it had its own unique character. But I remember every single time a new one came out, it was incredibly disappointing from technical aspect. So I'm hoping that Playground Games actually comes through with that, because everybody knows racing games are kind of like the pinnacle of like polish. Let's hope that that carries over to something like a Fable RPG. With that being said, let's start off with number one. Number one, character creation. This might come as a surprise to people who play more modern RPGs, but the Fable franchise doesn't have a very good history with character creation, and definitely not a very good history with inclusivity. In the original Fable game, you played as a young Caucasian boy, and in Fable 2 was the first game where it let you pick between a male and a female, but if I remember correctly, the default was playing as a male. And again, in Fable 3, you could pick between male and female, but again, the default was the male, and all the marketing was centered around the male. And I don't believe any Fable game to date has let you change skin tone. So that is definitely something I think that they should add. I'm not thinking like a deep, like cyberpunk level character creator or anything, but in the interest of inclusivity, especially with the world's climate the way it is today, we need at least some basic skin tones and at least a male-female character selector. Setting the bar pretty low here, but we got to go with what the franchise has presented us with so far, and that's all I'm asking. Number two, alignment. For those of you who remember, probably the peak of what Fable did with this was Fable 2. I have some problems with Fable 2, but the best part of Fable 2 was definitely the alignment system. It actually had a two-part alignment system, separate from how the first game only had good or evil. The Fable 2 had a good, evil, pure, and corrupt. So it had two different alignments, and that would affect you differently. So you could do pure actions, but do evil things at the same time, and you would become pure evil, and your character would start to take on like a vampiric appearance. While if you did corrupt evil actions, your skin would start to crack and craggle, and you'd look like some kind of like rock demon with like your skin starting to turn into like coal. And it was really unique for the time, and it was really cool. You also had stuff like what type of class you played as. So if you were a magic user, you would start to grow like wheel lines. And if you were good, you would start to get like a halo and stuff like that. I thought that that was probably one of the most unique and cool concepts of the Fable games, and I really like to see it come back. In Fable 3, they really toned it down a lot. It didn't actually change your appearance all that much, and at the end of the game, the closest you got to like appearance changing was you had a different set of wings, but you could have been good throughout the whole game and then chose the evil wings at the end of the game, which made no sense whatsoever. And it kind of took away any kind of like weight behind the good versus evil decision making. You would still be good or evil, but if you could just choose your aesthetic, it didn't make any sense. So I would definitely want at least the good evil. I would love to see the pure corrupt come back, and I definitely want to see stuff like will lines return, where you actually start changing your appearance based on how you use your combat skills. I think you would get more muscle definition if you used melee combat. You would get taller if you used skill based combat. Stuff like that. That was the heart of what the Fable franchise was, and I think that that's one of the things that they need to worry about bringing back with this one. Next up for number 3 is kind of a complicated one, and that is history. Anybody who has been gaming for a long time knows a little bit about the history of the Fallout franchise. Now, hear me out, completely different franchise, but from what we know in the gaming industry, whenever a studio goes under and sells off its intellectual property, or as in the case of Lionhead Studios, the studio was shut down by its publisher, Microsoft. When something like that happens, similar to what happened with Black Isle Studios selling off the Fallout franchise, there's always this backlash from the fans of the older games, because the new developer tries to make their own lore and everything, and every developer can't be held accountable for stuff that was created before they even owned the game. So Bethesda gets a lot of crap for messing with the lore of the Fallout franchise, and I'm worried that something similar could happen with the Fable franchise. I'm not saying that they have to stick completely to it or anything, because the Fable world was never really that particular. But I think what a lot of people would really appreciate that are fans of the older games is just seeing things come back, like Bowerstone, stuff like that, locations, the occasional character or reference to a character, something just to show that even though Playground Games is now the creator of this franchise and whatever it is going forward, as long as Microsoft's okay with them, that is, that they still respect the history of the Fable games and still pay homage to it in some way. Now on to number 4. Now don't get confused that this one's so late in the video, but number 4 is probably the most important one for me personally, and that's bringing back the old magic system. This is a crucial one for me. I know, as somebody who played Fable 1, 2, 3, the Lost Chapters, had the DLC, I was big into the Fable franchise. And if there's one thing that the Fable franchise did that really kind of got on my nerves, it was how they destroyed their magic system. In the original Fable game, the magic system was very varied. It had a lot of different spells. There were spells for any kind of class you were playing as. You had rush spells that were better for melee characters. You had spells that upgraded your bow damage and gave you extra arrows. You had spells that were good for stealth. The magic was incredible, and it even had alignment-based spells. Spells that you could only get if you were good or evil, that had different appearances. The magic system in Fable 1 was bar none. And then it got toned down a lot in Fable 2, but there was still the heart of it there. And then in Fable 3, that's where they really ruined it. They nerfed the magic system down from these varied spells that you get as you level up to simple gauntlets. And they explained it away in the lore as magic is dying, magic isn't as strong in the world anymore, I guess with the rise of technology, which is fine for a lore example, but it just made the game less fun, especially considering what Fable used to be. And seeing the image of the fairy in the teaser trailer, I'm really hoping that they try to explain how magic is returned to the world of Albion somehow, and use that as an excuse to really revamp the magic system, because Fable 1 magic system is hard to really compare to most games' magic systems. It was just so good, and I'm not even just saying that from nostalgia. I remember well after playing Fable 3, going back to the Anniversary Edition and being like, I miss this magic. This magic was great. So magic system is definitely a must. Playground games, please give us a good magic system. We don't want gauntlets. We don't care about the lore example. We just want to be able to use a variety of spells that suit our different playstyles. Alright, and now for number 5, the last one. Now I'll admit, I wasn't really planning on this one, but now that I've thought on it a little bit, it's just as important as any of the others I mentioned here. And that I think we're safe on, but it still needs to be brought up. And that's simply the humor. Fable has always had this dark, kind of British humor to it. And that's something that we can't lose with the franchise. It's part of what gives it its personality, gives it its character. Fable has always had this, from the gargoyles to the demon doors, all this quirky humor to it. And that's probably what makes Fable Fable more than anything. Fable by no means has ever been a technical masterpiece. It's never been really in the top echelon of RPG games of all time. But what makes people love Fable more than anything is probably its personality. And if you get rid of the personality, then you're just left with a bland RPG. So that was my list. I hope you all agree. If you have any others, feel free to comment them down below. Share this video with your friends. Like and subscribe. I'll try to put out more videos similar to this as often as I can. I'm trying to upload at least every week. Please help out the channel. It really means a lot to me. Fable's sort of a passion to me, so I'll probably upload more similar videos. So if you're a Fable fan, join the channel. Stick around and keep up with my newer videos. Thanks for watching.